Hello, cricket fan, and welcome to Into the Ashes, brought to you by DAFA News, a new Ashes-specific podcast where we're talking about, yes, you guessed it, England versus Australia, starting Friday, June 16th at Edgbaston. My name is Jamie Alter. Joining me today are Liam from Australia and Dom from England. Gentlemen, how goes?
I'm good, Jamie. Can't wait to get into it. England might win white ball trophies, but the Ashes is always where it's at for me.
Well said. Liam?
Yeah, really looking forward to this series. Very excited to see how Australia go over in the UK. Should be a really exciting series.
Of course, I know where the two of you, where your allegiance lies. Me as a neutral observer, I was just thinking before we started this, the last time an Australian captain won the Ashes in England was 21 years ago. Steve Waugh. Seems so weird and surreal for me to even be saying that. A lot has changed for both teams. Australia, WTC champions, ranked number 2, oddly enough. England ranked number 3, but England, to my mind, are a far improved side from the last Ashes we saw a few years ago. Liam, I'll start with you. Australia, the next to be Bazball or a serious threat, perhaps the biggest threat to England going around?
Yeah, I've really loved this reinvention of the English Test side since Brendan McCullum took over as head coach. It's made them a lot more exciting to watch, especially heading into an Ashes campaign for us, watching from afar. But they haven't quite faced a bowling attack like what Australia are going to trot out this series. We've got pretty much a full-strength bowling attack going in now with Josh Hazlewood expected to be fit. He might not make the side. Obviously, Scott Boland and the emergence of him over the past 18 months has been tremendous. So Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, Scott Boland, Mitchell Starc, Nathan Lyon and young spinner Todd Murphy, I think they pose a serious threat to Bazball, and yeah, it'll make for some interesting cricket.
Dom, your take on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is probably the best attack England have faced in the Bazball era, but you would sort of think England have been playing against grade cricket attacks the way some of this talk has been going on. I mean, New Zealand coming with Trent Boult and Tim Southee, two sort of greats of the era in terms of seam bowling, and they got taken apart. There's no express pace there, but then South Africa come over with Rabada and Nokia, and England win that series. Then in challenging conditions in Pakistan, a part of the world where England generally collapse into a puddle, they piled on runs. So every challenge in the Bazball era has been met with increased purpose, and I expect no backward steps again going into this series.
It's going to be fascinating for all the facets. And again, Bazball, like you said, Dom, it's not a flash in the pan. It's worked across conditions against various teams, against in various countries. Let's now talk about the bowling, because Liam, you did mention Scott Boland, Josh Hazlewood. Now, I mean, it's hard to imagine that Josh Hazlewood, like you said, might not walk into the team. Does he? If not, because I think he's not played since January, and given how bloody good Scott Boland has been, is that a problem Australia are going to be okay with? And who is your Australian bowler to watch out for?
It's a great problem to have. I'd rather have a fully fit bowling lineup and have to leave a Josh Hazlewood or a Scott Boland out than be, scraping and pulling blokes from first class cricket or county cricket that haven't played for Australia or haven't played for a while. So it's a great problem to have. For me, Scott Boland is my bowler to watch. I think he showed in the WTC final that he's going to be a pretty big threat in those conditions over in the UK. He's not an express quick by any means, but hits a length very similar to what Glenn McGrath used to produce for Australia. And he's proven over an extended period now in the Test lineup that he's got what it takes. He's got the wood over a few England guys as well from the last Ashes series. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Scotty Boland goes over this 5-test series. But there's plenty of opportunities for rotation throughout the series as well.
Yeah. Dom, we'll come to England's bowling, but very quickly, do you agree with Liam? Scott Boland perhaps the big threat?
Yeah, he looks made to measure for playing over here, really, doesn't he? And obviously his record in tests elsewhere has been fantastic. He's a guy who's come to Test cricket late. He knows his game. I mean, anyone who bowls back of a length for Australia gets compared to Glenn McGrath. Also reminds me a little bit of the sort of thing Stuart Clark used to do, who England had nightmares against. So yeah, he's that sort of bowler who sort of hits the splice. yeah, could be a real problem over here. But I think whatever team attack Australia name, it's going to be high quality and it's going to be a massive test.
Yeah, Scott Boland for me seems to be that bowler. Let's now get into England. Dom, we know there are a few players who have injury issues, but there's still Anderson going strong at, what is he, 57 or something now? You got Scott. Stuart Broad has made comments off and on. I get it, there's a rivalry, but you still got Potts, you've got Robinson. Ben Stokes apparently is back to full tilt. How do you see this England bowling faring? Will they last across 5 tests? And give me one England bowler to watch out for.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, England's best bowlers, to try and be accurate with their ages, are 40 and 36. It's incredible. James Anderson and Stuart Broad are still going. Of course, Jimmy missed the Ireland test with a minor injury, and Ollie Robinson also sat that out to sort of manage their fitness. And they're going to have to manage this over the 5 tests in a tight period quite well. Mark Wood's the guy with express pace to look at now. Jofra Archer's ruled out. I think Wood plays a maximum of 3 given the schedule. I think Matthew Potts, people are maybe sleeping on him a little bit. People have forgotten what a fantastic breakthrough summer he had last year. I think his ability to bowl long spells and again in this tight schedule means he's got a role to play. There's the Moeen Ali factor, but, you know, Jack Leach's loss is a blow, but I like Moeen playing. I think his ethos fits this team. He's a really popular player, and his record in England is better than abroad. The guy to watch for me, I think, is Ollie Robinson. I think if England can get him to a stage of fitness where he plays the 5 tests, he can do the back of a length thing Stuart Broad does. He can move it in a similar way to James Anderson. He's the full package England conditions, and I think he will look at the Australia top order and be licking his lips if he can get into them. And yeah, I think Ollie Robinson could be a key for England this summer.
And he's had a fantastic rise in a very short career. Yeah, Moeen Ali is that X factor, but I think most people will be happy apart from Mark Butcher reading his comments. Let's quickly get into the batting. I want to start with the openers because it seems like openers on both sides seem to have the weight of expectations. Not all of them are in form. Starting with Australia, David Warner's had a rough last 8-9 months. Usman Khawaja, to my mind, arguably might be the greatest batting story of the last WTC cycle, but he doesn't, Liam and Dom, have a record to speak for in England. On the other side, you have Zach Crawley, who no matter what he does, seems to have the world against him. He's made some bold statements. And then you have Ben Duckett 2.0, who's earned his way back here through runs across formats. But again, I think this is his first Ashes. This is going to be a big test. Just quickly, Liam, Dom, I'll start with you, Dom. Give me your take on the openers of both sides. And of the 4, one from each team, who do you think stands the best chance of scoring runs? Of the 4, one from each team, who do you think stands the best chance of scoring runs?
Well, I mean, opening in England in red ball is a mug's game at the best of times. And the Duke's balls this year seem to be doing a bit more than they did last summer. So, yeah, it's hard. Khawaja, as you say, Khawaja's had a great year, but he doesn't screen piles of runs in England. Liam mentioned about Warner's problem with Broad. I could see Warner having similar problems with Ollie Robinson this time around. He can sort of tap into that perceived weakness Warner has around his off stump. Ben Duckett's the form opener coming into this series. I think he's the one I have to pick at the moment just by weight of runs, but I think we also have to be honest that it would never have been the plan in a million years that Ben Duckett would be an opener in a series in England against Australia, but they're just having to roll with that. Zach Crawley is, he sort of inside edged his way to 50 against an Ireland attack that got bludgeoned by everyone else. He's a bit of a mystery. He's a favourite of McCullum's, but I will just throw in a wild card. This week, Phil Salt, who's an England limited overs opener, opened for the first time for Lang, and McCullum nudged backup plan. If Crawley doesn't happen, that they have another Bazball type to come in and open the innings, that Phil Salt might get a look later in the series.
Interesting. I saw that scorecard and I was wondering, Phil Salt opening? So yeah, you might be onto something, Dom. Liam, your take on the openers?
Yeah, I suppose they all come into the series with, pressure on them for different reasons. Obviously, Warner is the big one from an Australian perspective, just given his, lean run with the bat for an extended period now in Test cricket. He did have that double century over our home summer, but that wasn't against the class of England. So he's obviously coming into the series with plenty of weight on his shoulders. Uzi is a guy that's scored a lot of runs at home and in the subcontinent. They're both not getting any younger either. Obviously, for England, Duckett and Crawley, there's question marks over them, especially against our quite strong bowling attack, which we've touched on. But for me, I think this is where Warner needs to stand up, and he needs to do it in the first test or two because his spot's on the line with guys like Marcus Harris and Matt Renshaw also in the squad. So if the ball doesn't score runs early, I think it could be curtains for him.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, very, very quickly, I want a winner and I want a specific series scoreline. Liam, go ahead.
For me, I just think with the way, especially England, have been playing their cricket over the last 12 months, unless there's some horrendous weather, which, pray to God, there's not, I think we'll get a result in every test. I reckon it'll be a tight series. I'm going to go 3-2 for the Aussies. Just think we've got the slight edge from a bowling perspective, but I'll go 3-2 for Australia.
Dom?
I'm very close to agreeing because Bazball is a results business. I think even with bits of rain, we're going to get 5 tests done in a positive result fashion. But I'm going 3-2 England. I just think the home advantage and the momentum this team is on. England were 1 win in 17 before McCullum and Stokes came in, and they've done what they've done. Imagine this team with form and momentum now. So yeah, 3-2 England in a series we'll never forget.
A series we'll never forget. I think as a neutral observer, I'll take that answer. You're not going to get me to give a result. I really don't know who it is. It will be 3-2 to someone because of all the reasons you've underlined, but I don't know. Well, this is the end of the podcast. Gentlemen, thank you, Liam, Dom. For all our viewers, do come back. We're going to run this series throughout the Ashes. For more cricket scores, updates, analysis, head over to DAFA News. This is Jamie Alter on behalf of the whole Into the Ashes podcast team and everyone at DAFA News saying goodbye, take care, see you soon.